everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we're doing my March book haul. I have 10 books to talk about, so let's get started. First up, we're gonna start, as always, with the new release. I only have one new release this month. There are some other March releases, but they just haven't come out in time to be included in the March haul. They'll be in the April one. Anyway, I have one release, which is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. This just came out in February. And this is, I think, a standalone adult fantasy inspired by Norse mythology. In this, we're following a witch who's able to see the future, but she refuses to tell Odin about a future that he wants to know, and so he punishes her and she escapes into a forest where she meets Loki, and they have children together, and her plan is to just live out in this forest with her children when she discovers that they may have a larger fate or destiny for them. And I have heard some really great things about this, and it just sounds like the kind of thing that would be up my alley. Then for the rest of the books that I have, first up we have Places No One Knows by Brenna Jovanoff. This is a YA contemporary fantasy, I guess. There's a girl who's able to walk into people's dreams. I don't know that much else about it, but I've been meaning to read this book for a while, and I finally got it. I found it on Thrift Books, and I was like, perfect opportunity. And what's funny is, like, just after buying this, I saw a couple of people talking about this book on BookTube, so now I'm even more excited about it because there are actually, like, people talking about it. I hadn't seen any reviews for this before I ordered it, so that has gotten me more hyped for this book. Then I got The Black Tides of Heaven by Nian Yang. This is a novella that is, I think, the beginning of a series of novellas that are adult fantasy, where we're following twins who, one of them is able to, I think, see the future, and then one of them is able to, is better at, like, understanding politics, and together I think they start, like, a rebellion against their mother or something, who is in some, like, position of power. I think also this is set in a world in which people are not assigned a gender until they reach a certain age and they can choose for themselves. So that sounds interesting. I have been wanting to read this book for a while, and I actually started it a while ago as an audiobook, and, like, the audiobook just wasn't clicking for me, but I was still interested in it, and for some reason I thought I would actually like it better as a physical book. So I got the physical book to try it again. Next up is Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. I got this from Thrift Books and didn't realize that it wouldn't be coming with the dust jacket, but that's fine. It's still obviously perfectly readable, and if I love it, maybe I'll buy another edition that has the dust jacket. I don't know. But this is a YA seafaring fantasy. I think there are, like, pirates. I actually don't remember that much about the synopsis, but I know that every time I read it, I think, oh, I should read that book. So this is another one that I've been meaning to get to for a long time, so I decided to finally pick it up because I saw it on Thrift Books. I have recently been getting very into thrift books. Then I have two books from the same author. The first one is Kushiel's Chosen by Jacqueline Carey. This is the second book in the Phaedra trilogy. The first one was Kushiel's Dart, which I read in February, I think, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I should have my review up by now. It's taken me a little while to get my review up for that book, but it should be up now, and if it is, I'll link it below. But yeah, so this is the second book because I enjoyed the first one. I'm going to be continuing on in this series. This is set in kind of an alternate history fantasy world in which we're following our main character Phaedra, who has been trained from a young age as a courtesan and as a spy. And the first book had a lot of politics, a lot of world building. It was really interesting, but kind of confusing sometimes, but I'm excited to see where the series goes from there. So I have the second book, and then I also have another book from Jacqueline Carey, which is Brin Reeker. So this is the first book in a duology, and I really wanted to try this one because I liked Kushiel's Dart and I really enjoyed Jacqueline Carey's writing style, but I kind of wanted to try something else from her, like just try a different series, see what a different world is like that she has written. And so this one I thought sounded interesting because it seems kind of like more standard classic fantasy, although I think I saw somewhere that someone described it as like a deconstruction of Tolkien fantasy, which sounds like that could be interesting. I don't know, I just wanted to see what else Jacqueline Carey would do outside of the world of Kushiel's Dart. And then the last 4 books that I have here are all from the same series, which are The Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. This is one of the only situations in which I like buy an entire series at once, just because at this point, like, I'm deep enough into the realm of the Elderlings that I'll buy like each trilogy, or in this case quartet, as I come to them. But this includes Dragon Keeper, Dragon Haven, City of Dragons, and Blood of Dragons. I think I got those in the correct order. But yeah, this is the next series that comes after the Tawny Man trilogy, which I just recently finally finished. It took me 3 years to read the Tawny Man trilogy because for some reason I read 1 book a year. So I'm hoping to finish this series in less than 4 years. I don't want to do that 1 book a year nonsense again. Hopefully, ideally, I would finish this year. But I would also accept finishing it in 2 years if I read 2 books a year. Anyways, this is the next series in the realm of the Elderlings. It is the second to last series, because I think after this there's only 1 trilogy left. But this is going back to the dragons. I don't want to explain too much more because this is already like very far into the series. But yeah, I'm excited to have these. So those are all the books that I got in March. If you've read any of these, I'd love to hear about it, what you thought of them. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.